Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to Anime King. And today is a final episode, yes guys, a final episode of What If Naruto Was the Otsutsuki King. I just want to thank you all for your help and your support and your journey on following me on this What If. Thank you all for all the likes, the comments, and all the support on this video guys. But as usual, don't get sad because you already know new What Ifs are coming up soon for you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I hope you enjoy this final episode and thank you all once again. And also stay in tune because I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was Given a Second Chance, so stay tuned for that. And I'm also going to be posting What If Naruto Got His Memory Sealed Away, along with What If Naruto Was Disowned by Everyone. So yeah, stay tuned for those and I hope you guys enjoy. So without further ado, remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new guys. Let's get straight into this new episode. Begin the intro. So the last time we left off, Naruto woke up. As he got up off the table, all of them looked at him to make sure that he was, well, okay. But he simply smiled at Ino and Mito as the both of them rushed forward and hugged him. As the both of them were crying in joy and happiness to see that he was finally back to his normal self, to see that he was okay. As everyone released a sigh of relief that he was back as well. Before they could keep on everything though, Amara asked if this planet is at war, as there was at least 100,000 beings made from plants and chakra in their bodies coming this way. Before anything could go any further, the entire roof was torn to pieces by many explosions, as it was Deidara, the reanimated corpse of Deidara. But the group was completely safe by Naruto, as they went outside to see the 100,000 Zetsus and all the coffins surrounding the area. The Edo Tensei and the masked man, all of them were there, as everyone quickly sprang into action. But Naruto stepped forward. He's been gone a long time. He will handle this, he told Mito and Ino, as he walked forward and placed his hand on the ground. As he could feel the white Zetsus, all of them were made from trees. He could feel the energy inside of their body. It was then they started to change and revert back into trees, as the entire place became flush with a wild forest, surprising everyone. The Edo Tensei then came, but Ishiki and Amaro were there, so they stood no chance as all of them were brutally cut down. Absorbing the chakra out of their body reverted them back to what they once was, and their souls got released. Naruto ripped open a dimension and placed Sasuke inside. It was then that he attacked the masked man, as Sasuke was able to carve up his body inside. As he came out bleeding, as Naruto started to beat the crap out of him, he stood no chance. But in the end, Kakashi was the one to finish him off, as Kabuto summoned Madara. Madara thought that this generation never caught up with him or Hoshirama, but he was sadly mistaken as he started to throw everything that he got, even pulling a meteor from the sky, surprising the other Kages, but Ishiki simply shrinked it. As Naruto quickly disabled Susanoo and quickly finished him off, he stood no chance, absolutely none. Kabuto was yet stricken with fear when Naruto suddenly appeared where he was. Naruto didn't even give him a chance because Naruto simply didn't remember him. He wasn't really in Naruto's mind, as Naruto completely erased Kabuto. As they came back, everyone was just stunned. These three Otsutsukis end a war that would probably take days, weeks, or months for the elemental nations to group up and finish. But that made them even more worried. What if this guy came back? How strong was he exactly? And what if he brought an army? But Naruto told them to not worry about it, he has it covered. But he wouldn't tell them exactly what he's done or what has changed so much. Meanwhile, we skip to the Zack, as the man was furious. He was informed by Moshiki that Naruto was back on Earth, and Ishiki and Amaru was with him. So those were the two that betrayed him in the first place. But this time he was over with it. He tried with his brother, but things didn't work out. He was going to take what he deserved and become the rightful king of them all. He was going to become a god. So yeah guys, so it's basically let's put left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So what is to begin this new, well, final episode. We begin this episode Izumo and Katetsu, as the both of them were at the gate as usual, eternal gate guards. Katetsu yawned. Things have been really strange since the attack on the Hidden Stone. The world has been in, well, fear a bit, because no one knew who had the power like that to completely erase the Hidden Stone, not even leaving behind a single person alive. So yeah, people weren't worrying anymore. Bandits were sticking low. Do you think this has something to do with Naruto? Said Izumo. Well, judging from the blade that we saw flying over the village, I think it does, said Katetsu. Seeing that Naruto's the only one that can do things like that, and also the White Cure match as well. Do you think they're related? Said Katetsu. I have no idea, said Izumo. The both of them then turned their head as they sensed something. As they look ahead, the Hokage is back, said Izumo. As they scanned the group, it was then that they noticed Mito and Ino was with them as well. What the hell, said Izumo. There she is, said Katetsu, as he saw the girl that was flying over the village earlier. And another one, said Izumo, as there was another man next to her. But the person in the center, who was talking to Ino, wait, is that? It is, said Katetsu. Is that Naruto? As Natty simply walked by them, making Katetsu and Izumo eyes went wide, as Naruto turned towards them and gave them a small smile. As they couldn't believe it. He was alive? He was back? They were curious, they had a lot of questions. But the group just went straight inside of the village. Walking through the streets of the village, Naruto looked around, as the people were all looking at them, the newcomers. Most of them saw his face, as they instantly recognized him. Well, given that he saved the village back then. When the first two Otsutsukis came, and the rumors went around, his name was spreading a lot. And when he went missing, most people were asking what happened. And now, seeing him here, people were surprised and shocked. But they didn't wait, they just headed straight towards the tower. Moments later, Naruto sat down in the couch, as Nade was behind her decks. Ino and Mito went to inform the others, as they would surely want to know that Naruto is back as well. As Kakashi and Sasuke was in there as well. She would have to call a council meeting for later, but she wanted to know what they're dealing with right now. So, said Tsunade, as Ishiki and Amaru were standing next to the window. What can we expect, she asks. Well, if I know my brother, said Naruto, he will bring the entire force here. Tsunade gulped. To battle? It was Amaru that spoke, no. Since Naruto came to the planet, things have changed. Most of them saw the power that he possessed, along with his brother as well, Dizak. Most of them respect him, and see him in a high regard. So, they won't step into the fray. They would most likely wait and see who will become the victor, before bowing down to that person. So you're telling me that if you win this fight, there will be no casualty at all, said Tsunade. Yes. That is why it has to be me and him alone, said Naruto. 1-on-1 to see which one of us is the best. To see which one of us will take the rightful seat as a king. As Tsunade rubbed her forehead, this is just getting too drastic, aliens from different planets, and now this. She has to worry about a full-scale battle. Just save for her circumstances. What happened if you lose, she said. Well, he's gonna blow up the planet. Just for spite, said Naruto. Sasuke and Kakashi gulped at hearing that. The power to completely incinerate a planet that was just beyond a lot of things. But don't worry, Naruto said, gave him a smile. I'll handle it. Even Ishiki and Amaru looked at him. They weren't so sure why he thought he could defeat Dizak. The last time the battle ended in a complete failure, and he wasn't able to stand up candle to Dizak. But now. So tell me, brat, said Tsunade, why do you think you can win so confidently? Yes, I'm curious about that as well, said Kakashi. As Sasuke spoke, did something happen while you were gone? Did you gain some kind of new power, Sasuke asked. Naruto looked at them. Before he could say anything, the door came burst open. What the hell, said Snazzy, as a green blur shot towards Naruto and tackled him right off the sofa, making him crash down to the ground. As the blur started to cry, "You're really here," she said, "you're really here." As Fu lifted up her head and looked down at Naruto. I couldn't believe when I heard. As two other people came in the office. "You're really alive?" said Goren, as Yukimaro rushed inside as well. "Naruto," he said, as the both of them rushed over. As Mito and Ino came in the office, all of them had smiles on their faces. As Naruto just stood there with a smile on his face as well. This is what he wanted to come back to for so long. He missed them. He missed them all. Snazzy narrowed her eyes at Naruto. Something was different about him. She couldn't tell what it was. Well, for a fact he was different. Well, in his confident. She wanted to know why does he think that he can stand a chance against Dezak, and the first time he failed so miserably. She noticed that even Amara and Ishiki was not sure as well. So she wondered what exactly does he have up his sleeve. "Did you finish off that bad guy?" Fu said. "Is he never coming back again?" As Naruto looked at her. "He's coming back," he said. "What?" Fu said as she looked around the room. "So why are we all just standing here? Shouldn't we be preparing or something like that to fight off against him?" "No, I'll be the only one to fight him," Naruto said. Fu got an angry look on her face. "Are you mad?" she said. "We just lost you once. Do you think we can lose you again?" As tears started to stream down her face. "She's right," said Karin. "Are you insane? Remember what happened the last time? That was a year ago. Things can't change so drastically. You never stood a chance against him." But Naruto simply smiled. "Don't worry. I won't be ever leaving again," he said to them. Are you sure you can handle him?" said Fu. As Naruto smiled at her. "I will," he said. "Alright then. I'll put all my trust and faith in you," she said to him. "And if needs be, I'll be jumping into the fray as well. Don't worry. You won't need to," Naruto said. As Fu smiled at him and just hugged him even more. Snazzy sighed. She figured that this would happen. They did miss him a lot. "Alright, brats, you can go ahead and reunite with everyone. We can talk later," said Snazzy. As Naruto nodded. As he left the office along with them, leaving Snazzy and Ishiki and Amara alone in the office. "Hokage," said Amara. As Snazzy looked at her. "You're worried as well," said Snazzy. "Yes, I am. I don't understand why. Does he think that he can defeat Dezak?" As Ishiki looked through the window. Something probably happened that we don't know about. "Well, weren't you guys with him?" "No, we couldn't do anything to rush or risk him finding out. When he lost his memory, he was like a complete different person. He didn't remember anyone. Most of the time, he didn't have any remorse, taking out planets after planets. So we couldn't rush. We had to wait." "Wait, what do you mean planets after planets?" said Snazzy. "A long time ago, Naruto's father was the one that planted the trees on the planets. Well, the Otsutsukis did. And to harvest the fruit from the trees, where he ate all of them. Eating those fruits made him become extremely powerful. After running with the Shinigami, knowing that he was going to die soon, he converted all of that power into making two powerful heirs. For the both of them to fight each other and see which one of them will come out on top. As you know, Dezak should have killed Naruto that day, but he didn't. He wanted someone to work under him. But now I feel like he's completely regretting that choice. That is why when he comes here, he won't be taking hostages this time. He will try to kill him. But if the kid is at the same strength, can't you two help him defeat Dezak? I'm afraid that he's more than us. If Naruto still has the current strength from what he possesses, the two of us won't be anything to stand in the way. We would just be picked apart by Dezak. He has never shown his true power once he was here. So that is making me even more curious. Naruto must have something that he's hiding," said Amara. "We will just have to wait and see. And if he failed, the entire planet will be exterminated," said Snazzy. "I guess so." But think about it this way. Look how much he loved his sister and that other girl with the blonde hair. Do you really think that you put your life in jeopardy if you know if he lost, the entire planet will be destroyed? I guess you're right, said Snaddy. But I just want to know what he's capable of now. Because if this guy is like is still too much, what will we do after that? As Snaddy turned towards the window, she really wanted to know. Timeskip, a few hours later, we found one Ino Yamanaka lying down on top of Naruto's chest. A blanket was draped over the both of them as the both of them were naked. As Ino had a rather satisfied look on her face. As she smiled, she raised up her head and kissed him. I really missed you, she said. I missed you a lot as well, he said. I can't believe that it was a year I was taken away from you all. That won't be happening again. As Ino looked down, he lifted up her face by her chin. What's wrong, he said. I just can't bear the thought of you being taken again from me, she said. And I told you it won't happen. But how do you know that, she said, the last time what happened? As Naruto looked at her with a charming smile. Just put your faith in me, he said. I promise you, this time it won't happen. I love you, she said, and I trust you completely. If you think you can do this, I won't question you, she said to him. As Naruto smiled at her. Thank you, he said. So when do you think that he will get here, she asked. Soon, said Naruto, as he turned his head and looked towards the window. He didn't remember something. What happened to your father, he asked. You knew about that? I still have the memories from that day. He tried to invade Disak's mind, because Disak was holding on to you. Well, something happened, she said. It's like his chakra coils are completely destroyed. Not even Snaddy, the best medic, could heal him. The chakra is still flowing through his veins, but he can't do any of the clan techniques anymore. Or really any sort of jutsu, she said. So what about you, said Naruto. Had you take the head of the clan? Well, no, she said. You see, after you left, I kind of went down a dark path. I had joined Onvu. My emotions were just too much back then, and I had to find a way to properly express them. But it wasn't since recently when Sasuke spoke to me and Mito. It was then that we started to see things, well, clearly. You wouldn't want us to suffer in any way. Naruto clenched his fist. What's wrong, she asked. As he looked at her. If I hadn't been taken, none of this would have happened to you guys. I would have been here to protect you all and not put you through hell and misery. You couldn't do anything about it back then, she said. But you tell me that you can do something about it now. So that's all I need to hear, she said. As he kissed her. Don't worry, it won't be like the last time. But can you tell me, what happened while I was gone? Oh well, a lot of things, she said. As she started to explain what happened, along with the hidden stone, along with the Akatsuki, Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki coming here, Jiraiya death, Mito learning Sage mode, coming back and defeat Pain along with Sasuke and Fu's help. And also Gurren seemed to be taking a liking to Shikamaru, because she's been spending a lot of time with him. And Fu, she's taking a liking to Shino, seeing that she's been hanging out at the Abarame clan compound. Both of them like bugs, so yeah, that's good for them. Karin, she's been helping Tsunade with her research on medical ninjutsu, trying to advance it in a way, and she's been working on those gizmos, those gadgets. A better future for Konoha one day. But I guess everything hit me and Mito the hardest. I had loved you ever since I was younger, so I just couldn't handle it anymore. And Mito is your sister after all. An unbreakable love between brother and sister. If it wasn't for Sasuke, I didn't know where the both of us would have been right now. And when you think about it, they kind of make a great couple. What? Said Naruto. As Ino looked at him. Oh, nothing, she said. What did you just say, Naruto asked? Oh, I was talking about, Fu and Shino. You know you can't lie to me, right? Said Naruto. As she sighed. You can't tell them that I was the one that told you this. But they've been a couple ever since. As Naruto went quiet. You okay? She asked. He simply smiled. What's wrong with you? She said. What? I'm fine, he said. I mean, I just tell you that Sasuke's with your sister. The sister that you banned him from dating because both of you are friends. And you just smile. You're starting to make me worry like you're gonna do something stupid in this fight that is coming up. As Naruto looked at her and put a hand on her head. You already told me that you trust me. There's no need for me to go over anything else, he said. And besides, everything's gonna be alright. As he placed his hand behind his head and lied down. Ino looked at him with a worried look on her face. Something was definitely wrong. The next day, we find Naruto in the council room. As he heard from Ino that Danzo was killed. As he tried to take over Konoha, thinking that Tsunade wasn't doing a good job. But Sasuke had that covered. As he was lucky. Because he went after Mito, so Naruto would have killed himself if he came back here and saw him alive. As we now found Naruto sitting down in the council room. As Tsunade cleared her throat, getting everyone's attention. As you all know about the threat that happened 1 year ago, she said. We believe that he's coming back, as murmurs could be heard. As Shikaku was the one to speak. You don't seem troubled by this. As he looked at Naruto. And it's good to have you back, he said. Thank you, said Naruto. And I'm not troubled by this because I'm gonna stop it. Well, given what happened the last time, how do you think you can stop it, asked Choza. Things are different now, said Naruto. How so, asked Shibe. As he looked at Naruto. They are just different, Naruto said. I don't understand, said Tatsume. Do you think you can defeat that guy? Last time he came to the village. Not to be, well, rude, but he turned you into a splash on the ground. If he wanted to, he could have killed you anytime that he wanted. Yes, I know that, said Naruto. But I've already said it, things are different now. And we don't have time to argue about it for too long. And why is that? Said Shikaku. Because he's here, said Naruto. As Tsunade narrowed her eyes. Now? As Amara and Ishiki stepped forward as well. He has arrived. As Ishiki narrowed his eyes, he didn't sense this act yet. But Naruto sensed him already. Something must have truly changed. As Naruto got out of his chair. Don't worry. I'll make sure you all see the battle. You can cheer me on while I fight, he said. Everyone was confused because the way he was talking with even humor in his tone. The last time it was a completely one-sided massacre. So what has changed so much? As Naruto went outside Sasuke, Fu, Guren, Karin, Mito and Ino, all of them were waiting for him. As he stepped out along with Ishiki and Amara. What's wrong? Asked Mito as she saw the look on his face. He's here, said Naruto. A dreadful look came on Mito's face as she clenched her fist. She never knew that it would be so soon. Are you sure that you're ready? She said. Tears already formed in the corner of her eye. Naruto raised his hand and placed on her cheek as he wiped away the tears from her eye. I already told you. I have this handle. And besides, I won't let anything happen to you guys. She hugged him as tight as possible. She didn't want this to be the last time. She didn't want this to be the last time she would see her brother again. As Ino stepped forward without hesitation, she planted a kiss on his lips. As if there was ever the right time, this was it. As she broke the kiss, be safe, she said. I will, he said. Meanwhile, a distance away from Konoha, this Zack, along with hundreds of Otsutsukis, the ones that were sent out to fight and conquer planets, were here. They were all going to witness his ascension to God. He was going to break past the limit that he is now and break through the barriers and go into divine power. Despite what he has now, he's still not truly divine. But today, once he gained what he truly came for from his brother, he will become something that will shape the very fabric of this entire universe. Something even beyond that. A spectral being. A being that can create life. A being that can erase life. A being that can walk through death and life. Yes, he will become a god. To lead and conquer everything. And his first action by God is to tear this pathetic earth and water apart. This planet has taken his brother again, once again. Even though they were supposed to fight, they became good. Well, good brothers. And even laugh and make joke with each other. even though he didn't have his memory back then. But it doesn't matter now. It's time that he stopped joking around. As he turned his head, he then took off with tremendous speed, leaving the others in his dust. Meanwhile, everything was prepared, even though Naruto told Snady that she didn't have to worry, but the civilians were put to a safe place, just to make sure if anything happened in the village. But Ishiki and Amara already told her that the other Otsutsukis will not fight. It is just a one-on-one battle to see who is the greatest, as Naruto was walking alongside all of them. "So, Sasuke," he said, "I heard that you've been sleeping with my sister." Mito's face became incredibly red as Sasuke blinked a few times. How the hell did he? Sasuke turned his head as he looked at Ino, who turned her head quickly, as Mito didn't know what to say. Well, big brother, you see," as Naruto smiled at her. "The both of you make a good couple," he said. It was then that Mito looked at him with shock. Something was definitely wrong. He would have either, well, they were going to battle, but he would have either threatened Sasuke or something. He would have threatened her but Sasuke. As the group walked to the edge of the village, coming to a stop, it was then they saw them all coming towards them. The small dots at the front, they became hundreds as they started to fly even faster. Before they landed, Zack landed with a loud boom, just for show, as he stepped out of the crater that he just created. As Naruto looked back, he saw that Mito and Ino were on the verge for tears already. "I told you guys, don't worry, I have this," he said. He then motioned for Sasuke to come. Sasuke stepped forward. "Take care of her," he muttered to Sasuke. "Naruto," Sasuke said, "you don't know if you'll survive this battle." As Naruto smiled at him, Sasuke dreaded this ever since Naruto came back. He was off. He's not telling them something, but it's like he's walking into a suicide bombing. Something was off. But Naruto stepped through the gates. The moment he did, Ino and the others tried to follow him, but a white barrier quickly spread up around the village, surrounding the village completely. Meanwhile, at Kumo, a white barrier spread around the village as well, surrounding it. The Raikage looked through his window. "What the hell is this?" he said. At Kiri, a barrier spread around the village as well. All the minor villages in the elemental nations' barriers started to come around them, protecting them from the onslaught that was about to happen. Amara and Ishiki stepped forward as well. "I would have never expected that it was you two traitors who betrayed me," said Zack. "So this is it. I'm guessing that you know who you are now, brother," he said. "You know you still have a chance. Bow your allegiance to me, and I will spare your life and your village. Or, go up against me, and this time, there will be no coming back, just straight death." As Naruto smiled, "You know, I really hate you," he said. "To think you stole 1 year of my life, and yet you come here giving me demands. And you brought the entourage as well. Fellow Otsutsukis," Naruto said, "if any of you step foot in this battle, I will slaughter you without a second thinking." As Naruto's voice became incredibly cold. "Oh, they're just here to watch," said the Zack. "For them to see that I am the rightful and truthful king. I know that some of them have grown to respect you, but it's today that I show them that you're nothing. Last time it didn't end so well, brother. So this time, this out blurred away with speed and appeared right in front of Naruto's face. Do you think you can do better?" As Naruto simply smirked. He then turned his head. "Well, for them, I will," he said. As this Zack then turned and started to walk away back, before coming to a stop. "Are you here?" he said, looking around. But everyone was confused. "What is he talking to?" said Fu. "Where are you?" he shouted. It was then a rift happened, as it seems like space and time was ripping open itself, before two strange hands came out with beads in them. "So it has finally came to this," said that dark, spectral voice. "When I saw what happened to you, That was for the best, but now, the humans have still found a way to bring you back your memory, to make you fight your brother in the end. Ah, Shinigami, said Naruto. Is that the god of death? Kiba said, as all of them were there. All of them were trapped in the village anyway, so they couldn't leave. As all of the ninjas were outside, it was then, all over the elemental nations. It was like a projection, came up on the barriers. Raikage, said Darui, look. As they saw Naruto, along with his exact person, in Kiri, Mizukage said Mai, her sister. It's Naruto. Is that the person that he's going to be fighting? At the sand, Gaara, said Tamari. It seems like it's finally happening, said Gaara. I can judge that this barrier is a way to protect our village from any chaos. Is this gonna be that destructive, said Kankuro. He must have surrounded the other village as well. Are they gonna fight all through the planet? As Tamari had a worried look on her face as well. What exactly was going to happen here? All the minor villages were saying the same thing as well. So I see. You put on a show, said Dizak as he smirked. Huh. A good fit-in for your end. For the people of this planet to see who is your rightful god. Because once I'm done here, brother, I won't be sparing a single life. Especially you, Dizak said as he pointed at Mito. You were the one that was most in his head when we were clearing away his memory. And you as well, he said, pointing at Ino. It seems that the both of you were the one behind him regaining his memory. But once I crush the both of you, his memory, his image, everything about him will be gone. And the only thing that will be left will be this Zack, the universal king, he said. Always thinking that you're a big shot, said Naruto. But this time, it won't end the same way. So death, Naruto said. Have you come here to watch as well? You were the one that was dreading this battle, knowing that one of us would take the rightful seat. Let me guess, as a god. This battle is now beyond my hands. I've tried to stop you in many ways possibles. Your father is one of those corrupted beings that stopped me from interfering. But just know, if you win this battle, Uzumaki said death, you have people that you still love and care about. But him, the Zack, you're just a tyrant. And every big tyrant will one day fall. And with that, the god of death vanish. Enough talk from Mr. Skeleton over there, said the Zack. So brother, me and you 1-on-1. It's like you don't understand what happened the last time. But it's inevitable. The Zack vanished as he appeared beside Naruto left and swing around his hand. But to his surprise, Naruto grabbed his hand with ease. The Zack eyes Naruto for a moment before they return back to normal. So you have grown stronger. I guess I wasn't completely watching you while you were fighting on the other planets. Before the Zack could say anything else, his face was grabbed roughly by Naruto, making his eyes went wide as Naruto twisted his body and threw the Zack away. With so much force, his body literally break the sound barrier as he could hear the sound being torn apart. His body crashed into the ground. Right at the Valley of the Gods, where they last fight. Naruto then stepped forward. As he did, Ishiki and Amari stepped forward as well. All of the Otsutsukis parted way. None of them even sent a single glare his way. They all just looked at him. None of them knew that they could not do anything in this battle. As Ino and Mito cried out his name and told him to be safe, as he simply waved them off as he walked off, making the both of them feel dread. Sasuke felt it as well. Something was going to happen. Something that he doesn't think that Naruto will come back from. The way Naruto was acting was strange. He believed as well that he will have to sacrifice his life for something. The Zack picked himself up. What is this? He said, as he did not understand, as he felt his face. How could he have gotten so strong? The Zack shook it off though. Must be a fluke. Naruto landed with a boom. as the other Otsutsukis were a distance away watching, but the entire world could see what was going on. You know, I always wonder how you were that stronger than me. We were supposed to have the same power, half and half, but when combined, multiply by at least 1,000,000 to become something else. But you became stronger than me and I wondered how. It was then that I found out. As Naruto held out his hand and ripped right through a dimension, pushing his hand inside and pulled out a single vial. It had a weird diamond in it. The exact eyes went wide. Yes. This is the energy from the planets that you conquered. You were able to siphon them off into these cubes of diamond. And then you devour them. Something like what father did with the fruit a long time ago. That is what gave you that extra edge. And you were really stupid to send me to that planet, where my name became legendary. Where Naruto the Destroyer started to ring through the universe. Because there had the most power that I ever seen before. So I did the same thing. I guess they thought that I was here to collect, so they gave me one of those crystals at one of your old used planets. And I saw that the place was run down. The buildings were decaying because that crystal was siphoning off all the energy that you then forced into your body. So I thought, if you can't beat them, join them. So I did the same thing. As Naruto looked at the crystal, you have taken 3 of these, and this is my 3rd as well. As he swallowed it, a burst of energy exploded out of his body. This act got up, it doesn't matter. I was bred to be a fighter, born to be one, born to be a ruler. It doesn't matter if you do what I did, you will still not be above me. You're a cheater, said Naruto. If you had fought me back then, on what you truly were, things wouldn't have ended that way. And if you think I'm happy to see you, you're wrong. I'm really angry. You stole 1 year of my life. 1 year when I could have been with the people I love. And for that, Naruto dashed forward. As both him and this fist connected, ripple went through the entire area. The ground was split open. Naruto twisted his body in mid-air and sent the fist towards his face once more. This blocked it with his wrist. But he felt the force behind it, but he twisted his body and kicked Naruto in the ribs. But Naruto then grabbed his leg and spun him around and smashed him into the ground hard. As Naruto pulled back his fist, but Nizak opened his palm and fired a pale white light that hit Naruto in his stomach. It knocked him up in the ears. Nizak flashed behind him and brought down his leg for an ox kick. Naruto spun around and grabbed Nizak's leg and thrust him down to the ground. As Naruto held up his hand, a big ball of silver energy was created as he thrust it into the ground. The entire place went up in a boom. As everyone had to look away from the screams, the light started to become intensified. All over the elemental nations, people saw the war begin. Nizak picked himself out of the destruction as he was able to cover his body in a layer of power to protect himself. As Naruto landed back, the both of them, without wasting a heartbeat, dashed forward, smashing their fists together. Each fist that made contact created ripples in the ground and started to break it apart. Nizak started to sweat as he realized how much more powerful Naruto has gotten. But he has a few things up his sleeve as well. He drove his foot forward and knocked Naruto in the stomach. Naruto was skated back a bit, but he stopped himself. As he raised his hand, a dragon made from a golden energy form and sailed towards Nizak. Nizak raised his hand as a silver dragon was formed and sailed towards the gold one. The both of them wrapped around each other before exploding in a massive explosion. But neither fighters falter as the both of them rushed toward each other and started to trade punches after punches again. Meanwhile, at Konoha, they seemed to be equally matched, said Tsunade, as she was watching the battle along with everyone else. Mito, Ino gritting their teeth along with Fu and the others as well, as they just want to make sure that Naruto came out of this alive. Sasuke had a worried look on his face as Ino saw that. She knew that Naruto told Sasuke something, but she didn't hear what it was. It seems like he knew something that they didn't. So she walked over. "You okay?" she asked. "Oh, I'm fine," Sasuke said. As she could see it, he was worried about something. He definitely was. As she wondered what. was Naruto planning on doing? This fight was still at a stalemate, but she knew that neither of them had used their full power yet. Back to the fight. The Zack reared his fist forward as Naruto grabbed his hand. He then thrust his other fist as Naruto grabbed it. Naruto then pulled back his head and smashed it right in the Zack's face. He then smashed his head again into the Zack's face as he smashed it again and released the Zack before punching him right in the stomach. The Zack was sent sailing back as he came to a stop and raised his hand as he touched his face, his nose. A pissed off look came on his face as his blood was leaking from his nose. "How dare you," he said, as he moved off with speed, grabbing Naruto by the throat. He smashed Naruto's head down into the ground, but Naruto grabbed onto his hand and twisted him around and smashed his face hard. Naruto then brought down his foot to stomp right into Zack's back. But then Zack fired off a beam right out of his finger that shot Naruto right in the shoulder, knocking him back. Zack got up and started to fire off beams that hit Naruto all over his body, tearing into his clothes. As Naruto winced in pain a bit, but he came to a stop before holding out his hand as many golden swords emerged. As he thrust them all at Zack, they all came barreling down on him before imploding on themselves, ripping a huge trench in the ground. Naruto then slammed his hand on the ground as a massive tree grew out of the ground and started to fire off many large wood projectiles straight down where Zack was. Before the entire tree was rooted out of the ground, the thing then spun in the air and became a sharp projectile. As Naruto launched his hand down, the thing hit the ground a boom, rocking the entire elemental nations. As the other Otsutsukis were watching, as Momoshiki was there as he clenched his fist in anger, Ishiki had an eye on him. Once this was all over, Ishiki was going to kill him, despite who the victor be. Because if Naruto failed, him and Amara are going to be dead anyways, so he might as well go down, killing one of Naruto's enemies. A loud primal scream could be heard as the entire ground was blown apart. The Zack came out of the ground fuming with pure anger and rage. He was different, as his entire body seemed to have grown in structure a bit, as his eyes changed completely, as they became the yin and yang star. As the Zack moved off before Naruto could blink, he smashed Naruto's head in the ground with so much force, the ground bucked under weight. As he lifted up Naruto and kicked him straight up into the air, the Zack appeared behind him and drive his foot into Naruto's back. As Naruto hit the ground, a boom. The Zack then started to fire off energy beams that went straight down as they started to tear the ground apart. As the Zack placed his hands together, as there was a spear formed in his hand, the spear started to grow white and got illuminated with pure power. "Let's see you survive this," he said as he drive the spear down towards Naruto. Naruto flipped over on his back as his Rinnegan changed. His eyes became the star yin and yang as well, taking on the same shape as the Zack eyes. As Naruto raised his hand, the thing came crashing down on him, but it exploded as he pulled himself out of the rubble. The Zack appeared next to him and thrust his fist forward as Naruto did the same, the both of them going in a 100% punch. The moment their fists made contact, something strange happened. They literally ripped through dimension, as the both of them were sent spiraling and vanished. What just happened?" said Mito. "The both of them just disappeared. Where did they go?" said Ino, as the other Otsutsukis were also looking around. Meanwhile, in a strange place, where there was just pure light and streams of light all over, Naruto was smashing his fist into the Zack's face over and over, as the Zack grabbed his hand and swung Naruto straight towards one of these pale lights, as Naruto's body break through it like it was glass. The Zack flew after him, as the both of them landed. They looked to be in some sort of a forest. The both of them kept on fighting as they smashed their fists in each other's faces, as the both of them were sent skating back. Before, they felt the ominous power that surrounded the entire air, as the two of them were rather confused, not understanding what the hell that was. The both of them looked over until they saw something hit the ground and boom. It was like a missile. The first thing they noticed was 12 long, flowing tails just flowing in the air. Naruto was the most confused here because he saw himself. Yes, well, a version of him, This one was different. His eyes were completely black as night, looking like a demon. He had long, sharp fangs, claws on both hands extending outwards. "What is this?" he said. His voice sounded like there was two voices combined. "In all my years, I've never seen something like this before. I'm confused and surprised at the same time." "What exactly are you?" he said, looking at Naruto. As the thing stepped forward, it wasn't even, it was half, demon. You could see it, and there was a large eye in its forehead, with strange patterns, as the Zack and Naruto couldn't even tell what that was. The Zack looked over. What was this thing, and where exactly were they? It seems like they ripped through a dimension or something like that. "Who are you?" the demon said as he looked at Naruto. The Zack raised his hand. "Do not interfere," he said, as he released a pulse that ripped through the ground, a force that smashed into the demon and sent him sailing away. As Naruto was then hit in the face a right hook by the Zack that smashed into his face hard. As blood started to seep out of his mouth, the Zack then grabbed him by the head. As Naruto slapped away the Zack's hand, as the both of them reared back their fists and smashed together again, and another rift break open. As they heard a mad laughter coming. It was then that they saw the demon rushing towards them. The thing was literally tearing through the ground to get to them, as it looked like it was crazy, a psychopath. But the both of them were sucked away in the vortex before he could slash at them. "Damn it," he said, as he looked around. Well, that was truly strange. Thought I would have had some warriors to fight. As he walked off, and didn't even look back once. Meanwhile, Naruto and Zack were going at it again, as the both of them smashed to another rift. This time they came crashing down hard. They came back to the Valley of the Gods. As Naruto looked around, he was back. As Mito released a sigh. "He's okay," she said. "But what the hell just happened?" said Ino. "I have no idea," said Mito. As the group continued to watch a fight, as they started to slug fists at each other after fists. As Naruto grabbed onto the Zack's hand and flipped him around, he then bent the Zack's hand in a way. The Zack cried out in pain as Naruto stomped into his back. As the Zack started to cough up more and more blood, as Naruto was ripping off his arm, he quickly created a blade as he spun and drive it through Naruto's stomach. As Naruto backed off a bit, he then smashed his fist in Naruto's face, knocking Naruto down to the ground. As he jumped forward and stomped into Naruto's chest. The blade was still sticking out of him as the Zack pulled it out and drive it into his shoulder this time. He created another blade and drive it into Naruto's other shoulder. As he drive two more blades into his side, pinning Naruto down to the ground. He then grabbed Naruto by the face and started to punch it in. Naruto's head started to break the stone under it, before the Zack jumped into his chest, breaking the ground underneath him. The both of them were sent spiraling straight down to the ground, as Naruto dropped hard. As the Zack then landed right on top of him again. Naruto flicked his hand as a lava all around smashed into the Zack. A large lava hand was created out of it. It grabbed the Zack and pulled him underneath the lava. As the Zack screamed out in pain and agony before exploding out of the lava, singe mark all over him. As he looked at Naruto with a fearful look on his face, Naruto blasted off the ground and stomped into his chest, breaking him through the ground. Before Naruto grabbed him by the face and threw him straight back up into the air, breaking through the ground. Jumping out himself, Naruto was met with the Zack as the both of them started to clash once more. As Naruto created his golden blade, the Zack created that silver blade as they slashed against each other. Every slash they made, the earth was literally ripped and torn as massive shockwaves, massive craters, massive tremors started to go through the earth, shaking it violently. Everyone was on the edge of their seats watching this battle. Who will be the winner? Who will be the victor? And who will die? As Naruto knocked the Zack up in the air, blood was spewing from his mouth. He was sent sailing forward before he came to a stop. "Enough of this," he says. He extended his arms forward. "I'll incinerate you and everyone on this planet." As meteors, it was about 20 meteors started to be pulled from the sky. All of them with flames burning bright, coming down to destroy the entire place. The Zack hands then started sparkle with lightning as a massive lightning storm started to be created up ahead. The thing then started to spit pale white lightning onto the ground, striking everywhere. Lava burst from the ground all around as they came into one section and formed a massive lava dragon in the sky. As the Zack sent everything coming towards Naruto, Naruto's body started to grow inside before he became taller and taller and bigger and bigger and bigger before he stood like a giant. The meteors came rushing down at him. He created a massive sword. With one single swipe, he ripped all of them out of the sky. The dragon crashed right into him, but he smashed it to pieces with his hands. As the lightning storm enveloped him, he released a push that blew the thing to pieces. A fist then connected into his face, knocking him aside as he looked to see the giant Zack as well. The both of them then started to exchange fists in the air, shaking the earth core as the entire place was shaking violently. Shops, windows, everything was being blown apart by just the effect of the punches. As the Otsutsukis had to move away a distance, or they would get caught up in all of this. Naruto grabbed Zack by the neck as he lifted him. He then smashed him down hard in the ground. His body shook the ground furiously as Naruto stomped in his stomach. Zack was coughing up blood as Naruto grabbed his head and threw him back, his body tearing through the ground like a grater. Grabbing one of his legs, Naruto smashed his face hard and lifted him and smashed him again before throwing him straight out of the planet. To the way how big he was, as Naruto pushed off the planet going to meet him, both of them were in no space fighting as their fists connected, smashing into each other over and over again. Naruto reared back his head and smashed it into Zack's face as blood exploded from his nose and his mouth, as Naruto reached a massive staff and smashed it into Zack's back. A sound could be heard that was sick as his body was sent sailing through space. Naruto tread forward, his staff extended as he smashed it straight on top of Zack's head. Zack seemed to be hazy for a second before he created a sword as he tear right through Naruto's staff. He then drive it through Naruto's arm, making him wince out in pain. But Naruto kicked him in the stomach as Zack coughed up a lot of blood. Grabbing his head, Naruto started punching his face as Zack was bleeding and wincing and crying out in pain before he struck Naruto right in the ribs, cracking it. As Naruto released him, the both of them then smashed their fists into each other's face. The blow sent the both of them flying opposite directions. The both of them shook it off though as they came sailing back to each other as they smashed their fists together as the force sent the both of them flying straight back down to earth. The both of their body reverting back to normal in mid-air as they kept on clashing, throwing fist after fist before they dropped with a boom. Their body now normal size. The both of them coughed up a lot of blood as they felt extremely weak. As Naruto got up, he even went back down on one knee as he crawled over towards Zack. Zack picked himself up with a fist smashed in his face, knocking him back down. As Naruto sat on top of him and started punching his face, blood and spit was flying everywhere. Zack got up and knee Naruto right in the stomach, pushing him off of him. As Naruto grabbed him by the shirt and flipped him over and smashed him into the ground. Zack then grabbed Naruto's head and beat it 3 times before Naruto backhanded him away. All around the world, everyone was watching this gruesome battle between these two. It was like 2 titans shaking the entire earth, as it was also rippling out in space as well. The both of them smashed their fists together, teeth were sent flying out of their mouth. Blood, spit, everything. As the both of them kept on smashing fist after fist till their eyes started to get swollen. As Naruto grabbed onto Zack's shoulder and reared his head back, smashed it in Zack's face once more. Zack went down to one knee as Naruto kicked him right in the nose as he cried out in pain. The amount of blunt trauma to his face as Naruto kept on punching him over and over until Zack's hands went limp as they went down on the ground. As Naruto then created a blade and drive it down towards his heart. But Zack's eyes snapped as he broke the blade in half before kicking Naruto off of him as Naruto was sent sailing back. Zack then got to his feet, blood and gore pouring from his mouth. As everyone was just watching the scene, Naruto wasn't even better off. Blood was poured as well, both of their eyes swollen, both of them looking beaten and battered. As Dizak then looked at him. "That's enough," Dizak said. "You might have known what I did to get so strong, but I am still better than you, in every way possible, and I'll be the one that will become God today." "You are nothing compared to me," Dizak said. "I am a fighter, a warrior. You're nothing but a stupid earthling. You were not raised in the sense of becoming a leader, a god. You have no one to protect," Naruto said. "No one to live or to die for. If there anyone's got on the wing today, it's gonna be me. And, one way or another, I'm going to kill you, whether it be taking you with me or not." As Mito and Ino narrowed their eyes, hearing that statement, their voices were being projected everywhere. As Ino noticed Sasuke flinch at that, she then grabbed him on the shoulder and turned him around. "What do you know?" she said. As Sasuke narrowed his eyes at her. "What is going on?" asked Mito. "He knows something. Naruto told him something before he left." "What do you know?" Ino asked, tears already forming in the corner of her eyes. "Sasuke, what is it?" asked Mito. Sasuke lowered his head. "As you can see, the both of them are even. He's going to sacrifice his life to kill Dizak. I don't know how, but I believe that is what he's going to do." As everyone turned their head towards Sasuke hearing that, as Nadi turned back towards the fight, she realized how calm and smooth he was acting. Dizak was cheating in the first place, but Naruto did the same thing and got stronger as well. But now the both of them are on the same level. She feared that what Sasuke said was true. Back to the battlefield. "How?" said Dizak, "and why?" "What do you mean?" said Naruto. "I want to know something before I kill you. Why did you decide to take those two other crystals with the powers in them to get stronger? I mean, you didn't have your memory. Why didn't you trust me?" "I never did in the first place," said Naruto. "I found it obviously strange that my memory just gone. And you end up destroying the planet that took away my memory, and no one else knew anything. And all these stories, they just sound like fabric lies. So I never fully trust you. But when I went to the plant and he gave me that crystal to give to you, I first tried to figure out what it was, until one of the, subjects told me. The people on the planet were broken. After what you did, you were siphoning off all their energy, even their life force as well. But they didn't know that part. They thought it was just the energy, but they realized they were getting weaker and weaker, as they thought it was just their morale being broken. But I saw what you did, and my emotions, caring about people back then, were off. So, to finally be able to beat you, I decided to do the same thing. And you sent me to the powerless planet to conquer it. That is where my name, Naruto the Destroyer, truly came out. And I did the same thing to that planet, under secrecy of course. So I guess the both of us are liars and thieves, and never really trust each other." Dizak simply chuckled. "I guess you're right," he said. "But this is where it ends." As he held out his hand, a small silver ball formed in his hand. As Naruto held out his hand as well, a small golden ball formed in his hand. The both of them looked at each other, as the power could literally be seen sucking from their body, going straight towards their palm. They were here dancing wildly. The entire surface that they were standing on cracked and crumbled away, forcing the both of them to fly in the air. The ball started to grow in size and size and size, until it was the size of a massive Rasengan. The both of them looked at each other, before they dashed forward with speeds that were unimaginable to normal people. They thrust the two balls forward with all of their compact energy inside. The things made contact. It was for a second the entire elemental nation stood still. But then the next second, a wave of torrent and disaster, even Naruto's protective barrier, was affected. As it started to crack, Mito and the others were sent flying away by the force. Over at Kumo, at Kira and the Sand, all of the barriers cracked because of this tremendous force that rocked the earth devastatedly. The thing shook for minutes upon minutes as the entire Valley of the Gods imploded together. It was ripped apart, leaving nothing but cinders behind. All of the Otsutsukis had to fly away straight out of space to avoid getting hit by that attack. Luckily, there was no nations around here or no minor villages because they would be completely destroyed. But many villages suffered many damage as the explosion rippled out. The thing went on for minutes upon minutes, tearing through the very fabric of everything that went on. The earth just kept on shaking violently, like at any moment it would just simply explode. Amara and Ishiki could see the explosion from space as everyone else was watching. The thing was just catastrophic, beyond anything they have ever even witnessed before. As from a space point of view, it looked like the earth was smoking. As the Otsutsuki slowly went back down there, Mito got up as she pushed the rubble off of her. The entire west wall was destroyed. As she looked over, You okay? Asked Ino, as she held Mito up. Yeah, I'm fine, said Mito. She looked around. As the thing was gone, they screamed. What happened? She said. As everyone was looking around wondering what happened. Who won? What happened? All of them looked around. All around the elemental nations, the people were worrying because their fate, their entire planet was in this. If Naruto lost, all of them were doomed. It was then the projections started to come back on, as only thing they could see was dust and a crater that went deep down. They couldn't even see the end of it. But to the side, they saw Naruto buried into the side. A smile came on Mito's face. He was not dead, as she could see his eyes were barely open. But the Zack pulled himself out of the wall as well, but he couldn't move from his section that he was. As the both of them were in bad conditions. Naruto's right arm was ripped off completely, and so was the Zack's right arm as well. They had huge chunks of flesh taken out of their body. The both of them bleeding profusely all over. Cuts, scrapes all over their body. The both of them could even barely move. The Zack coughed up some blood as he couldn't believe he failed. In this condition, he could die at any moment. Well, by any one of those weak earthlings, because he could barely move. But not much could be said for him. The other Otsutsukis then landed, as the Zack looked over to them. Kill him, the Zack said, as he ordered them to kill him. The Otsutsukis faltered for a bit as they looked at Naruto. I said kill him, the Zack said. Momoshiki was the one that stepped forward. He walked towards Naruto, but a fist connected into his face. His body was then spiraling down towards the crater. Kinshiki leapt forward, but irons pierced right through his body. In a brutal fashion, he wasn't even able to stand a chance. As chains then wrapped around his neck and pulled. As more irons then ripped through his body. As he collapsed down, Momoshiki came blasting out of the hole. But he stood no chance as chains wrapped around him as well and pulled him straight towards Ishiki. As Ishiki grabbed him by the face and smashed his head down into the ground. As everyone watched as Ishiki threw him straight up in the air as Amara was holding him with chains. Many, at least hundreds of irons were created before they brutally tore through his body, ripping him to nothing but pieces. As he stood no chance against Ishiki, who was far above him in all calibers. It was then that Zack ripped himself out of the ground. His body was already regenerating. He was about to kill Ishiki, but Naruto pulled himself up as well and grabbed Zack. As Naruto held on to him tight as Zack was fighting, Zack flew off, but Naruto held on to him as Zack smashed Naruto straight into the ground because Naruto was behind him. As Naruto held on to him tight, as he knew, despite them being weakening now, their bodies were regenerating at a fast pace. And this would just go on for a long time. And you will know one way to finish this. He looked down at Ishiki. You're in charge now, he said. Amara, be there to help him. Forbid any of them from coming back to this planet. and just reign over the Otsutsuki planet, Naruto said. As a single tear came from Amara's eyes, she knew what he was going to do. As Momoshiki just nodded. As Naruto's voice and echo through all out of Konoha, as other nations could hear him as well. Mito, Ino, he said. Dizak was still fighting as hard as he could as his other arm regenerated, but Naruto grabbed it with his other arm that also regenerated, as Naruto held on to him tight, so he couldn't escape at all. As Naruto was forcing his power as to disrupt Dizak's power as well, so that he could not use any kind of ability to get him off of him. I'm sorry, Naruto said. What are you doing? Mito cried out. There's only one way to end this, and that's by throwing him into the sun. And I can't release him because he will just escape, so I have to go down with him as well. As Naruto break through Earth atmosphere, I just want you guys to know that I will always love you, despite everything. And please, don't blame yourself for any of this. I want the both of you to live your life and go on without me. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. Be the big brother that you need, and be the husband that you need, Ino. Please forgive me, he said. As people in the elemental nations were hearing that speech, saying that he was about to sacrifice himself to save the entire world. I refuse, Ino shouted. As everyone was surprised at that. You are Naruto Uzumaki. You have been through hell and came back on top. This is just a stepping stone in your path. Things cannot end here. As you said, you're sorry for not being the husband that you wanted to be. Well, I need you to be that husband, and Mito needs our big brother. You can't just leave us like this. You were the one that said it. If you were to win this battle, you will become something of a god. And you will help my father as well. You have to come back. You cannot be beaten. You are Naruto Uzumaki, the savior of this world. Do not die, she screamed. As Naruto was going closer and closer to the sun. Let me go, Dizak screamed out. You're gonna get us both killed, he said, as he couldn't get out of Naruto's grip. As Naruto was disrupting his power as well, so he couldn't use any abilities or anything like that. As Naruto didn't see any other way. Big brother, said Mito. Ino is right. Through everything, you never stand down. You always gave it everything you got. In this last battle, you showed us that. Despite how powerful he is, you still went on par with him. And now, we won't accept this. You've done too much for the world to not recognize who you are and to recognize what you've done for them. If you die now, you will be known as a legend, but we don't want that. We want you to stay here. We want to live a happy life. Ino needs you, I need you. Sasuke, everyone here needs you. You can't just die like this, she screamed. As the other girls started screaming as well. Don't die, Fu and the others said. As Naruto was treading closer and closer to the sun, the god of death was watching this all. But Naruto saw no other way around this. I'm sorry, he said. As Dizak's eyes went wide. You fool, Dizak said, as the sun started to swallow the both of them up. Tears instantly burst from Ino and Mito's eyes and the others as they saw the both of them went right into the center of the sun. As the both of them collapsed on their knees, everyone went silent. The other Otsutsuki just watching. They couldn't interfere in the battle. That was a battle to see who will reign on top. But it seems like Naruto took him out with him as well. As Amara wiped her eyes, tears were streaming down her face. She didn't want it to end like this. She wanted Naruto to live a happy life despite everything. Everything that he has been through. As he has done so much. She wanted him to take his rightful place as the king amongst them all and rule. But now he's gone. Meanwhile, in the center of the sun, the core of Dizak and Naruto were there. Dizak silver core, Naruto golden core. The both of them came together as they touched. They came together and swallowed each other and became completely white. Naruto blinked a few times. As he was... I guess this is my time, he said. As he looked up at the god of death. Despite not liking you, that was the best choice for you to make, said the god of death. Because now, the powers are completely incinerated. There will be nothing to bring them back. You're still afraid of that power. You should know that I wouldn't use it for anything stupid. Everyone is always saying that. But power changes people. It's just because you don't know exactly how much power you would obtain. I guess you're right, said Naruto. But I wouldn't change it all, believe me. Life is precious and I know that. If I had it my way, I would just settle down with Ino. Have a kid or two. And live the rest of my life out on Earth, where I can just relax. Have fun with everyone. But I guess fate is not seen that way. So what now, said Naruto? Is my soul gonna move on? As the Shinigami looked at him. Come with me. Naruto started to walk away. As the core that was right in the center of the sun started to diminish in power. Naruto's the voice! As Naruto stopped, what's that, he said. That's nothing, come with me, said the Shinigami. He heard the voice again. Naruto, Naruto! It was Mito. He then heard Ino. He then heard Fu. He then heard Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi. All of them called out his name. As Naruto stepped forward. It's your time. There is no going back, said the god of death. Now come with me. As Naruto looked at him. I've always been wanting to defy the laws and do extraordinary things. Our father believed that we could gain power to break through the realm of impossibility. You're scared of that because you think we're going to do dark things with this power. But why? Why should I die and leave my loved ones behind? As Naruto stepped forward, the god of death then raised his blade up in the air. If you won't go now, I'll take you by force. As he came down to slice Naruto's soul in half. But Naruto spun around and grabbed his blade, shocking the hell out of him. How are you doing this, he asked. But Naruto then turned fully. Half of his body was now Dizak. You bastard, Dizak said. You think you're going to be the one to be going back? I am, he said, as he punched his other side in his face. But Naruto didn't say anything, as Dizak raised his hand but he grabbed it. The Shinigami stood there in shock. What is happening? I already told you, brother. You have no one to live for, no one to protect. Do you think you can outlast me in this way? Well, I don't think so, Naruto says. He started to walk. Dizak then started to scream as his body started to get shredded apart. What are you doing to me? My will, it will not be broken, Naruto screamed as his left half was ripped off of him as Dizak fell to the other side. There was a light at the tunnel end. The both of them started to crawl. Dizak raised his hand as he was about to reach out, but Naruto smashed his fist in Dizak's face, knocking Dizak away. As Naruto saw all of his loved ones, all of his friends, all of his families, as his body gained the strength to lift up and jump. The god of death tried to stop him, but he was blown back by a force. The god of death's eyes then went wide when he saw a man standing there. His eyes were just completely white, exuding pure power. As he had a smile on his face, he wagged his finger back in front. My son has chosen. You will not be getting in his way right now. As Naruto jumped into the light, as he dive bombed right into everyone, all of his loved ones, before the entire place erupted in a bright light. Even though he was in the center of the sun, skin, tendons, veins, organs, everything started to grow and surround the bones. Everything started to grow until he simply stepped out of it, his body completely unharmed by the sun's powerful rays of heat. His body was now something different. Before he was sucked away, Naruto blinked a few times. As he looked around, He was in a white empty plane with 3 other people. He couldn't see their faces because it was just shrouded by so much light. Who are you, Naruto said. It seems like you have break through the realm of impossibility and stepped into our domain. As Naruto narrowed his eyes at them. What exactly are you, he said. Your father once tasted our divine power, and from then he'd never stop hunting. If it wasn't for the Shinigami, he would have passed us and tried to absorb all of us as well, taking our power. The stories you heard was wrong, boy. Your father was not poisoned by the Shinigami or this other race. That was just a story created by your father because of what he did. Your father was beyond anything. He was a true warrior despite through and through. Despite our hatred of the man, there was once 10 of us, but he killed the other 7. If it wasn't for the inconvenience of the other 7 passing over their abilities, their powers, for us to combine our power together, your father would be the one in charge here. Because we weren't able to stop him. His life, we severed it right there and then. But he was just that hard to kill. He somehow slowed down his death until he was able to have 2 offsprings. Seeing you now, you're his true reincarnation. And it seems like you have also even passed him in power. So what will you do now, boy? Another asks. So you're God, said Naruto. You're the ones who watch over the universe and all that. Yes, we are, another said. Naruto then turned and started to walk away. Well, you can keep doing what you're doing, I'm going back to Earth. What? You have broken through the realm of impossibility. And you're going back to Earth? You are a god now, boy. That doesn't change anything, Naruto said. I didn't want this in the first place. I just wanted to live a happy life with my family. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing. So you won't fight for the seats and take over everything for yourself, one of them asks. Nah, it would be boring staying up here, said Naruto. So see ya. As he then blinked away. The other gods looked at each other rather confused. It seems that they misjudged him. To think, he broke through the possibility and became what he is now, and he just wants to return back to Earth. Meanwhile, back on Earth, as Ishiki and Amara came back to Konoha, all of the screams were gone, the projections. As Ino and Mito was sitting on the ground, tear marks running down their face, the others also crying as well. As they couldn't believe that they lost him again. They just got him back, and now it was then a rift was torn open. As everyone turned their head, the other Otsutsukis were there as well. As they watched and waited to see what came out of it. Snapping at their eyes. What is going on, she said. The both of them were incinerated in the sun. There's no way that, as they saw the foot came out. And the other one. But they couldn't see anything else because his entire body was bathed in a bright light, forcing all of them to close their eyes. The screams and flickered all around the elemental nations, surprising everyone, as the light started to die down around his body. The show Naruto standing there, in all of his glory. His body just released an aura that shows superiority over everything else. How could I leave you guys, said Naruto, as Mito and Ino couldn't believe what they were seeing. Was he truly alive? The both of them got up, as the both of them started to run past everyone. The other Otsutsuki couldn't believe it as well. The 2 girls crashed into him as he held the both of them tight and firm. As the people around Konoha, all of them started to cheer. All around the elemental nations, cheers went off. He did it. He won. As the Otsutsuki went on one knee, all of them bowed down to their god. As Naruto looked at all of them with a smile on his face. This was what he came back for. This was what he wanted in the first place. As the 2 girls just kept on crying on him, but he held them tight, as the others came rushing over as well. Time skip. A few days later, Black Zetsu was feeling utterly broken. After witnessing that battle, there was no way he could do anything now. He couldn't even, go near Naruto. He was surprised that Naruto hasn't found him yet and end his life. There was no way he could bring back. He then saw a rift as Naruto stepped out of it. Huh. So you finally found me, said Black Zetsu. I've been busy, said Naruto. Sorry I'm late. Well, go ahead, Black Zetsu said, and end it. I guess it was for naught. I failed. You really just wanted Mother back, said Naruto. Yeah, I did, Black Zetsu said. But I failed. So, could we just cut this small talk and you can go ahead and end it? I'm not here to kill you. Why not, Zetsu asked. I would like to get to know my mother. What? Said Black Zetsu. What are you saying? He says he got to his feet. I've neglected that side of me for a long time, being all Otsutsuki and all. But I've seen now. I don't want to rule a planet, even though they look at me as their god. But I guess I'll have to go around and show the worlds, to don't try anything stupid. Because you know them with all their conflicts, trying to sabotage the Otsutsuki planet. What were you saying about Mother? Zetsu asked. Come with me, said Naruto. As Naruto started to walk off as a rip opened, Zetsu followed behind him. As they came upon a wall where Naruto slammed his hand on it, the wall simply shattered into pieces. Zetsu was shocked. That was a seal that he used to seal away Mother, but how did they even get here? How? As Zetsu saw a coffin with many strange scenery all over it and chains. Well then, said Naruto. I guess I'll finally get to meet my mother. Time skip. 15 years later, a small child was rushing towards the office. She had short black hair, along with blue eyes. As she slammed the door wide open, it's finally time that I challenge you and become Hokage, she said. As everyone in the office went drop. Again? Oh, you're here too, Dad. Well, I'm gonna defeat you as well, and show everyone that I'm the strongest. As Mito slapped her forehead as she was sitting behind the desk, wearing her Hokage's robe. Oh, so you think you can challenge me, huh, Kushina? She said. As little Kushina smiled. Yeah, and I'm gonna become Hokage. As laughter could be heard. Hey, why are you laughing, Uncle Naruto? Asked Kushina. I'll challenge you as well, she said. Oh really now, said Naruto as he stood up. As everyone has changed over the past 15 years, we currently have Sasuke, Mito, and Naruto in the office. Naruto simply smiled as the girl didn't falter at him glaring at her a bit. Yeah? So what, she said as she glared at him, but it was just so cute. I can do it as well. Now come on, she said. I'll become Hokage after I defeat the three of you. Now what do you say? As all of them just laughed. Hey, what's so funny, she said. You are, said a voice. As behind her she turned. She stuck her tongue out at the person behind her. Shut up, stupid Boruto, she said. As Boruto looked at her. Do you actually think that you're ready to become Hokage? Look how tiny you are. Well, how about me and you fight then, she said. And we'll see which one of us is the strongest. As Boruto smiled at her. Well, how about we take this outside? Do you want my big brother to hurt you? Asked Hinmawari as she stepped forward as well. I can take the both of you on, said Kushina as she smiled. It's not like any of you can actually beat me, she said. Well then, on behalf of my brother, I'll be fighting you, Hinmawari said. No fighting, said a voice. As Ino stepped inside the room. As Naruto walked over, as the both of them shared a kiss. Enough of that, Boruto said. Come on. Aren't you going to visit Grandma? He asked. What about you guys? Said Naruto. Well, I have a lot of paperwork to do, said Mito. You can just come back later and pick us up. Sasuke, Naruto said. Maybe next time, said Sasuke. Suit yourself, said Naruto, as he snapped his finger as a vortex opened up right in front of him. As Kushina then climbed up and jumped on his back. I'm coming as well, she said, as she went in the vortex with them. As Mito sighed and shook her head. Sasuke simply smiles as he looks through the window. Things have really changed over the years. Fu and Shino got together and had a kid. And surprisingly Guren, well, it wasn't a surprise, and Shikamaru got together. Both of them had a similar attitude. Well, she wasn't as lazy as him, but the both of them were a good fit together. And he had his wonderful daughter with Mito, named after her mother Kushina. And Naruto had his two kids, Boruto and Himawari. Things have really changed. Konoha, everything has really advanced. When it comes to technology, because of their link with the land of snow, and also Karin, with her work in technology, yes, the place has become quite advanced. There was barely any scuffles or war amongst the elemental nations. The reason being they had a literal god walking amongst them. And Konoha having so many strong beings inside the village, it made the other nations fear to really do anything. And they were at peace with the other nation as well, so the place was quite wonderful. It made Sasuke smile throughout everything they went through. Things were just wonderful now. Even Naruto sacrificed a great portion of his power. Well, a part of him that was immortal. Because he didn't want to live forever. New rulers. The young generation must take over. And he also wanted to grow old and live with Ino. So yeah, he wasn't immortal anymore. But he still had his power, all fluctuating through his body. So it's not like he got weak or anything. And right now they're off. Meanwhile, on the Otsutsuki planet, the vortex opened up. The entire group was greeted as little Kushina sat down on Naruto's shoulders. As she looked down to see Himawari pouted. She stuck out her tongue at Himawari. Huh, stay on the ground, she said. As Himawari then looked up, Mom, as she extended her hands. As Ino picked up Himawari, making Himawari stick her tongue out at Kushina. As Boruto looked around, I was wondering when you guys would get here, said a voice. As the kids turned their head, as Naruto placed on Kushina as all of them rushed over and hugged Kaguya and greet her. Things were a bit rough in the start when he released her from that seal. But, knowing that he was a king, that he took over everything, and having a good talk with his mother, well, she saw how life was now. Why would she try anything like take over the world or try to steal all chocolate for herself when life was this peaceful? To just live with her son and enjoy the times. How are you doing today, Mom? Naruto asks. Oh, I'm doing well as usual, she said. But you need to take my grandbabies to visit me more time. And little wonderful Kushina here, she said. You know you can come to Earth, right? But my grandbabies love it up here and we always have fun, don't we? She said. Yeah, said Kushina. So what are we gonna do today? She said. She wasn't talking to you, said Himawari. Of course she was. Hey, can you take us flying? Kushina asks. Do you guys want to go flying? As she looked at all of them, even Boruto nodded. As she held out her hand and created that spear that all of them stood on. Be careful, Ino said. As all of them flew off with her. As Naruto turned towards Ino, don't worry, they'll be fine. Oh, I know, she said. Ah, Naruto, you're here, said a voice. As Naruto turned, good day, Ino, Naruto, said Amara. As Ishiki greeted them as well. Naruto greeted them with a nod. So, how are things? Naruto said. Well, you would know if you visit more often, said Amara. Come on, I try my best, said Naruto. You can literally walk through a portal and come here, said Amara. What takes you so long to visit? Well, sometime I forget, he said. As Ishiki shook his head. Come on, old friend, he said. Things have been going rather well. As he placed a hand around Naruto's shoulder as he started to walk off. So, how is everything coming along? Asked Ino, as she looked at Amara's belly. As Amara rubbed her belly, everything is coming along quite well, she said. I'm hoping for a little girl, but a boy would be great as well, she said. I still can't believe you and Ishiki got together. I never thought that you liked each other in a romantic way. Well, being a supporter of Kaguya for a long time, and him being her brother, I kind of liked him some time ago, but I never really tried anything because after what happened with his sister. So yeah, know that we're at complete peace and everything, and Naruto has meet the other worlds, see, by showing them a bit of his power back then. They won't attack anymore, so we won't have to worry about anything. And we all owe it to him. If it was the old days, we couldn't have done these things and lived so peacefully. I know what you mean, Ino said as she watched her husband walk away. as a smile came to her face. Because right now everything was just utterly perfect. But guys, be any serious right here. I do hope that you guys enjoy, and yeah, thank you for all of your support and all of your support on this journey, guys. I just want to thank you for commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing, guys. Thank you, and I'm really grateful to all of you for enjoying this series. But don't be sad because you already know that new what is are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. So yeah, just sit back and relax and enjoy. And stay tuned for the rest of the what is coming your way, but I'm all for now. Peace. Bye guys.